If you're new to landscape photography, then this might be the video for you, because today I'm going to show you 5 tips on how to improve your landscape photography. So let's jump right in. What's up, y'all? It's Project Photography back with another video, and today, before we get started, make sure to follow all of my socials in the description bar below. But landscape photography is one of the most difficult niches of photography to get into. There's so many factors like weather as well as composition and what gear do you bring. In this video, I want to give you 5 tips to help you improve your landscape photography. So let's jump right in and talk about the first one, which is what gear you should bring. So I will be assuming that all of you generally have an interchangeable lens system, like a camera. So for me, I have my Nikon Z6. It's a full frame camera. And the one thing that I really think that a lot of you guys should have is a wide angle lens. For me, I have a 14-30 from Nikon. This is a Z mount. It's a fantastic lens, but I think something that you really need to look out for is how wide the wide side is. Now for APS-C, you probably want something around a 10mm to around a 12mm. Anything wider than that is fine on the wide end for a wide angle zoom. But if you have a full frame camera, then a 18mm on the wide end or wider is definitely better. And it just depends what lens you get. But for the most part, most wide angle zooms should be within that range. The next piece of gear you definitely need to have is a tripod. Now for me, I have a Peak Design aluminum travel tripod. Now I know this tripod is quite expensive. You don't have to get something nearly as expensive as this, but make sure you get something that's relatively high quality, because we don't want our tripods breaking when we're on shoot, and we want to make sure that they're stable and last a very long time. Now you can do so much with a tripod. For example, you can do HDRs, you can do panoramas, you can do long exposures, and you can just generally create more stable compositions, which is incredibly important for landscape photography when we're dropping down our shutter speed to like a second and even higher sometimes. So a tripod is an absolute necessity, and I'm going to link a video up here which showcases what is in my camera bag for landscape photography, so you can see just a wide array of gear that I bring. Generally it's not that much, but in this video I just want to be talking about the wide angle lens and tripod, because I think for majority of people starting out, that's the main 2 things that you will need. So now let's move on to the next tip, which is to always manual focus. Now for me, I'm always manual focusing when it comes to my landscape photography. And this is incredibly important because I want my focus to be pinpoint sharp as often as possible. I never use autofocus unless I'm doing something like handheld with like a 24-70 maybe, but those are very rare occasions. Majority of the time I'm shooting manual focus, because when we're using things like filters, the camera system will be able to focus through a filter, so it just is impossible to get focus right when it comes to autofocus. So if you're using something like a mirrorless camera, majority of them have some sort of indicator that shows you where you're manual focusing. For example, when I'm using my Nikon Z6, I can put the box on the subject that I want focus and then go ahead and manual focus it, and it'll show me in this bottom left hand corner with this dot or these arrows where I should be focusing and so forth. The dot means that I'm in focus. And it has this on DSLRs as well. I personally don't have one to show you guys, but just know that if you are manual focusing, there are definitely ways to get pinpoint accurate manual focus. So you can also punch in with a mirrorless camera by zooming in. That also works as well. I like to do that majority of the time. So just find the manual focus method that works best for you, but definitely be manual focusing majority of the time. Now the next 3 tips I'm going to give you are probably the most important ones you will hear of this video. But before we jump into that, I want to let you guys know about my photo critiquing service, where essentially you guys send in your photos, I go ahead and critique them and then send them back to you and let you know what I think can be improved. As a landscape photographer for over 7 years, I've been doing it professionally for the last couple of years. I want to help you improve your landscape photography and take it to the next level. So check it out down in the description bar below. But with that being said, let's jump right into the next tip, which is to shoot at sunrise and sunset. Now for me, sunrise and sunset is where I'm shooting about like 95% of my photos. I'm rarely shooting without those times because when you are shooting in sunset and sunrise, you get the best colors possible. And we all know that lighting is absolutely incredibly important for photography. But how do you control as a landscape photographer? That is something that we do not have full control over, like subjects like portraiture or like food and so forth. We don't have full control over that lighting. So shooting at sunset and sunrise is like our form of controlling the lighting as much as possible. Something I would definitely advise is to get to your shooting location an hour before the sun rises and before the sun sets. So if you're shooting a 6 a.m. sunrise, you need to be there at least at 5, because during that time of, the hour before the sunrise actually happens, there's something called blue hour that happens, which is about 30 minutes before the sun actually rises. And that's where we get the best lighting possible. You can shoot all the way from blue hour into golden hour and capture those amazing photos with a beautiful lighting. And every second the lighting and colors are changing, so you want to be able to capture those all throughout that time period. And those will create incredible colors, very soft lighting, and make it much easier to edit and post and create the shot that you envision when you were first shooting that landscape. When we're shooting in broad daylight, we get a lot harsher sunlight. It's not nearly as pleasing, and generally speaking, the colors will not be as good. So make sure you're shooting sunrise and sunset for the best lighting and colors possible. So now let's jump into the next part and talk about curvature. Now, what I mean by curvature is that there are parts in the landscape that kind of move non-linearly. For example, this shoreline right here moves in a non-linear fashion and creates a sense of curvature and movement inside of the frame itself. Or even this photo right here where I shot at Hanauma Bay, and you can see that this shoreline and cliff edge kind of come together to create a lot of curvature that kind of helps move your eye from the bottom of the frame to the top and just creates a really nice composition. I would highly recommend using a lot of curvature when you can, of course. I mean, obviously it's not going to be in every single one of your landscapes, but especially if you're shooting things like beach photography, there is going to be a lot of sense of curvature. Make sure to use it to your advantage. And most of the time, I do like to use it as a leading line to get my viewers to move from the bottom of the frame to the top, or just help them see the subject matter that I'm trying to show them. For example, in this photo right here, you can see the leading line is a sense of curvature in the image, where the shoreline moves your eyes from the bottom of the frame all the way to the top to my main subject matter. So use curvature in your landscape photography, use it to your advantage, and showcase it in your photos. So now the last and final tip is to envision your landscape before shooting it. And this is probably the most important tip you will hear in this video. Because when I'm out shooting landscape photography, I never, go in there blindfolded. I don't go and just test out a bunch of compositions and see which one is best. I see a landscape, I envision what I think the photo should look like, and then I just go out and capture it in the way that I saw it. This really helps me take the guesswork out of what my composition will be, and rather than just guessing all the time, I know for a fact, okay, that is the composition that I want and capture. And I've gotten really good at to the point where I can just simply look at a landscape and know exactly how I'm gonna shoot it. If you're a beginner, that might not be the case, but you want to definitely train yourself to get to that point, because when we're on location, we want to be fast when we're capturing these images, because the lighting goes by really quick and it's not as easy to capture those images when the lighting is going down. So being fast with your landscape photography is definitely something that is a lot better, and envisioning how you want the landscape to come out, even all the way through post-production. Like, how do we want the colors to feel? How do we want the image to look? And what do we want the audience to get out of the photo that we capture? And it's never a bad idea to take your time and understand how the landscape will come out when you're shooting it in a camera before you actually capture the image. It'll save you a lot of time in terms of guessing what the composition will look like and so forth. So yeah, guys, that is essentially it for this video. Thank you so much for experiencing the world with me today. And if you enjoyed the 5 tips that I gave you, let me know down in the comment section below which one was your favorite, which one you plan to implement into your landscape photography. And make sure to check out my photo critiques down in the description bar below. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.